It's Tuesday. Welcome to Hello Nigeria this terrific Tuesday, and we do have a bumper package for you. Today's Health Tuesday. On the show, we'll be talking to Dr. John Samssedi. Is an optometrist. Yes, it's the director, managing optometrist at Oakville Eye Center here in Lagos. And also on the show, we'll be looking at the top trending stories in politics. EFCC investigators explains how ex-NIMASA Director General stole 754 million naira, and also what seems to be from Tales by Moonlight, a lot of reference to animals. Hyenas and jackals will soon be out of the kingdom, says the wife to the president, Mrs. Aisha Buhari. We'll be looking at this and more during today's show. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, the show commences in full swing. Do stay with us.
Hello, Nigeria. There's no better place to be, so don't you ever change that dial. What's up, everybody? It's Kabam Zasukwa, and you're watching Hello, Nigeria.
You're welcome back to Hello Nigeria. Today is Health Tuesday, and it's very important in everything we do. They say health is wealth, and it's always nice to create time to talk about those things that keep us fit and keep us alive. Nice to have you on the show, Bimbo Awoyele, once again.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, we'll be looking at, we'll be talking to an optometrist later on during the show. But for now, there's something that is more black people are susceptible to it. It's called high blood pressure. We've been having incidences of young people just slumping and dying, sudden death, and it's as a result of high blood pressure and unchecked high blood pressure. Last 2 weeks, the chairman of the Nigerian Association of Traditional Healers said that if they give them access to President Buhari, they would cure him of any ailment he might be suffering from. That former President Olusegun Obasanjo is a customer. That's why he's very fit and agile at his age. This is it. They use traditional herbs. And the pharmaceutical industry, the raw materials are herbs and plants. So it's the same. And we'll be looking at some fruits and vegetables that help to reduce high blood pressure. Do you have any, can you take any guesses, or you're not into herbalism?
No, there's
You're not
nothing
a herbalist.
The term herbalist, I think, has been thoroughly misconstrued.
Nollywood gave it a negative connotation.
Yes, it's been thoroughly misconstrued. These pharmacists are herbalists. That's what
Exactly.
they are. They are herbalists because they use herbs, and then theirs is even worse because they use a lot of synthesized and inorganic stuff.
Yeah,
but you know,
processing. But this is raw. It's just different combination.
It's raw. I think the only thing is that they should, go into more development so that
and organize it properly.
Yeah, they
put
should
structures.
just put
Yeah,
structures in place.
because there are universities all over the world that offer acupuncture, traditional Chinese medicine as a degree course.
Look at two examples in the world: China and India. The Chinese are very, very careful, with the things they eat. Yeah, they eat, frogs and some stuff.
And their life
like that,
expectancy is
That's why
high.
they live long, because they eat a lot of inorganic, a lot of organic stuff, less of inorganic, substances. They eat, and then they eat a lot of marine stuff. Seafood. I'm not saying marine spirits.
Seafood.
a lot of seafood.
Yeah.
There are less toxins in seafood than there are in
land animals.
In land animals,
they eat the environment.
And then when you think of that, and then you think of the Indians, especially those who don't eat cows, who don't, the ones that are really
the Hindus.
Yeah, the vegetarians. and then you don't have to do the math. You know,
Exactly.
so you don't really have to do the
So
math. at all.
vegetables are very important.
So highly important.
Our producer has been kind enough to put up a list and a video of fruits and vegetables you can eat to lower your high blood pressure. Enjoy this.
Fruits and vegetable juice to lower high blood pressure. Apples. Red apples as well as green apples play a vital role in reducing high blood pressure. They contain fiber, chlorophyll, vitamin C, lutein, ellagic acid, hesperidin, and quercetin, nutrients that have shown to boost the immune system and protect you from cancer, reduce high blood pressure and cholesterol, as well as lower the risk of prostate cancer. Celery. Celery is considered sweet, bitter, and is cooling in nature. It is particularly beneficial to the spleen, stomach, and liver. Celery is a common vegetable and available at almost every grocery store and is one of the best foods for lowering high blood pressure. It contains active compounds called phytalides, butylphytalides. These compounds naturally function to relax the muscles in and around the walls of the arteries, causing the vessels to dilate, thus creating more room for the blood to flow and lowering the pressure. Cucumber. When it comes to cucumbers, most of us just throw a few on our salad at lunch or dinner and call it good. Cucumbers are high in potassium, magnesium, and fiber, and it can help reduce high blood pressure. Cucumbers are also a source of vitamin A and K, folate, caffeic acid, and silica. They also contain a significant amount of vitamin C, a powerful antioxidant that will help you lower your blood pressure. Ginger. Ginger is one of the herbs that has the greatest effect to lower your blood pressure when added to your diet. One of the best things about ginger is that it is a great substitute for salt, and salt is one of the worst things you can have if you have high blood pressure. Ginger can be a great alternative to salt to add flavor to your dishes. Not only that, but ginger actually has properties that will make your desire for salt decrease over time. Kale. This is a superb food for lowering high blood pressure, also known as boracal. It is one of the best vegetables. It's a good source of minerals, copper, potassium, iron, manganese, and phosphorus. Kale is also an excellent source of antioxidant vitamins A, C, and K, and sulfur-containing phytonutrients. Okay, so let's mix them up in a blender and kick some blood pressure down. You'll need 2 medium-sized green apples, 4 large stalks of celery, 1 cucumber, 1 ginger thumb, and 6 kale leaves, and then squeeze half a lemon. That's it. Drink this juice frequently. God willing, your blood pressure will get normal very fast.
Then, like they say, knowledge is power.
Wow.
Just drink all of that, and that's the magic formula. You don't eat, I mean, an apple a day, like they say, keep the doctors away. So it's wonder. And ginger, too, does a lot of wonderful things to your body. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we come back, we'll be looking at top trending stories in the news. Do stay with us. Hello Nigeria continues shortly. You're welcome back to Hello Nigeria. It's time for us to look at top trending stories from across the country. And we'd like to start with this. I mean, if you're a visitor to Nigeria, every other week you pick up the papers. It's always a top news story of some bombastic amounts being stolen and others. And I've suggested it once that, look, let's have a bad news day or corruption special newspaper and just remove all the stories that involve theft and all. The big question is what makes it very easy for people to steal this bogus amounts without alarm systems going off. Mr. Chukwudi Orji, an investigator for the EFCC yesterday at the Ikeja High Court, revealed in graphic details former Director General of NIMASA and 5 other members stole 754 million naira belonging to the agency. Orji made the revelations while testifying at the ongoing trial of Patrick Akpo-Bolokemi, the ex-DG of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and 6 others on the 13-count charge of bordering on stealing and fraud. Akpo-Bolemi's co-defendants, Ezekiel Abaga, Ezene Nkwachuke, Governor Joan Vincent Udoye, Abdeboyega Olopenia, and a company, Gamma Marine Nigeria Limited. Orji told the court VIMSAT committee, a committee of NIMASA had opened an account at Zenith Bank. This account had 2 inflows. On August 29, 2015, 498.4 million naira was paid into the account by NIMASA, and on 20th of May 2015, 318 million was paid into the account by NIMASA. This gave the total flow of 816 million on September 29. Therefore, there was a transfer of 11 million into the account of one Lakewood Greenwood Ventures. I mean, if you want the details, you can grab your copy of the Guardian newspaper today. We've often seen this scenario play out a lot. We get excited, and then the case goes to court, and it's kicked out for some technicalities. A lot of Nigerians have known not to be excited over media trials until they get convictions, and convictions are far and in between. 2 questions, Bimbo. Why is it so hard? I mean, we've seen the details, inflow, paper trail, to convict people that have stolen money inappropriately, that have looted public funds. And number 2, what makes it so easy to just take public money?
I think a lot of it has to do with our culture. There are certain things that,
Culture?
Yeah, I know you're going to find that hard.
Do we have a culture of corruption and theft? I wouldn't think so.
Not that we have a culture of corruption and theft, but we have a culture of rankadedeism. We have a culture of
big manism.
Of the king is, I mean, take the Yoruba,
head knows best.
Take the Yoruba salutation for the king is the Kabiyesi, is the Kabiyosi. Nobody can question him. And, you know, we transfer that traditional leadership value into our democracy, such that once somebody becomes, you know, the head of an agency, he becomes a Kabiyesi of sorts. Nobody can question. He just dips his hand into the coffers.
So even if he diverts public funds into his private accounts?
We still hail him. He comes to the street, he comes to a public function, everybody stands up before he sits down, and you all know that this guy is, in other climes, he's supposed to be a servant.
Yes.
It's supposed to be a public servant. So you see that it's
working for it's polar opposites.
It's an opposite. So until we get that mentality right, and always call out, you know, those people.
But public institutions are bigger than individuals. Public institutions would have a lifetime duration, barring when the trumpet blows and this world comes to an end. So they need to, I mean, they're superior. They're above any individual. So how do we have a situation where individual seems to be larger than the institution itself? If there should be red flags, when he gave the directive for the diversion of the accounts from NIMASA to a private account, you should know that there should be systems, alarm systems, that would hint the law enforcement agencies that, look, something is wrong here. And there are people, he's working with people. They should have reported that, look, something is happening, but it seems there's a culture of impunity.
You know, everything is warped. Now, you know, you can do what as high as, I think, 5 million in direct wire transfers now. Initially, if you have to, you know, move certain amounts of money,
you go to the bank. They take
you go to the bank. They take your picture. For an individual account, if it's 500,000. The bank does a letter to the central bank, to EFCC, you know, SFU. Okay, that so and so is moving this amount of money. But now you could be in your house, you could do a transfer. You know, you could move like 5 billion.
Regulations are lax. You
know, you can't track all of these things. But you know, when you have, you know, a warped, the stealing itself is the issue.
Let's look at solutions. people are, this leads us to our next story. We're looking at solutions way out of this corruption quagmire that we seem to find ourselves in Nigeria. And the Senate, some people have called it ingenious. Some have said, look, it's just a rubber stamp on corruption and that they're trying to reward bad behavior. It's led to a lot of commentary in the country. Falana, Balarabe, Kako, others condemn amnesty bill for looters. A senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana, former governor of Kaduna State, Alhaji Balarabe Musa, and the vice president of the Nigerian Bar Association, Mr. Monday Ubania, amongst Nigerians that have condemned a bill in the House of Representatives seeking amnesty for treasury looters. Others have been joined in the condemnation. Our Lagos-based lawyer, Mr. Olu Adegborua, the chairman, Center of Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, Mr. Debo Adenira, amongst others. Detail of the bill. The bill calls for the Economic Amnesty Bill. It's called the Economic Amnesty Bill. It seeks to allow those who looted public treasury to return about 70% of the stolen funds in exchange for total amnesty from persecution. We've seen cases, like I said during our first story, that these guys walk away scot-free. Nothing is done. So if you have a sort of...
And now you want to legitimize it.
Yeah, so there are people that feel that because of one type of persecution hanging over them, they can't come forward. But if under this umbrella of the amnesty bill, they'll be able to, you know, show some form of penance and repentance and hand over ill-gotten wealth to the federal government. I mean, it sounds ridiculous to a lot of people, but those that sponsored this bill, I did watch an interview of the man that sponsored this bill. He did say he had some reasons. His reasons valid enough.
Yeah, you can be sincerely right, and then you can be sincerely wrong, and then, you know, you can be a third thing that I won't see on camera. But, you know, it's just trying to legitimize and institutionalize. I mean, what stops me from stealing ₦1 billion and then I return maybe 700 million?
Yeah.
And I qualify.
300 million. Yeah.
I qualify because
your name
you know,
won't be mentioned.
Yes, I qualify. You know, after I return 700 million, my name will not be mentioned. And then, you know, I go and buy one small island, you know, off the coast of West Africa, and I just chill.
Wow, it's almost legitimizing bad behavior and corruption. But I hope it doesn't pass a second reading, like a lot of people have been saying. And I remember when the Romanians toyed with something similar. They weren't even doing, they weren't going for a bill to legitimize corruption. It's just to reduce the penalty. To reduce the penalty, practices.
There was a protest. And then, okay, then the lawmaker said, all right, we are throwing this thing away. We are not considering. Then they questioned them for even for considering
to think about it. And the whole of Bucharest was shut down.
They locked
in the height of winter.
But what are we doing here?
We're
on camera. We're discussing it.
A lot of us are discussing.
We're discussing it over
the future of Nigeria.
We're discussing it over a cup of tea. You know.
I hope we'll get there, and I hope the National Assembly would listen to the yearnings and the aspirations of millions of Nigeria. I don't think a lot of people are in support of that bill, so I think the general consensus is to drop it. Thank you very much for being a part of Channel Stories being Baoyele. We'll go on a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our top story. We'll be looking at the eyes and glaucoma. They have an optometrist in the studio with us. Just stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, Nigeria. There's no better place to be, so don't you ever change that dial. What's up, everybody? It's Kabam Zasukwa, and you're watching Hello, Nigeria.
It's a scent Nigeria. That means hello Nigeria in Tree.
Hi, my name's Amanda Potelwa. I'm from South Africa.
Hello, my name is Mimi Akinkube.
Hello, my name is Candace Nkotgisek. I'm from Cameroon.
My name is Ido Inanang.
My name is Efwa Osei.
And the most interesting thing I found about Nigeria is the extraordinary hustling energy.
And make sure you keep watching
Hello, Nigeria.
We do it all for you. We do it all for you. Eh, oh.
You're welcome back to Hello Nigeria. Today is Tuesday and it's Hell Tuesday on Hello Nigeria. Like I teased earlier, we have the Vice Chairman, National Optometrist Association, Lagos Chapter, Dr. John Samssedi. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you for
And our
having me.
focus today is glaucoma. But before we get to that, what's the difference between an optometrist and an optician?
Okay, there are actually three of us in the field.
Okay.
You have the optometrist. The optometrist is your primary eye care physician. So your first point of call when you come to eye-related or eye-related issues. You have the ophthalmologists. They are surgeons, so they do surgeries. So we refer to them in cases of surgeries and advanced treatment. And then you have the opticians. The opticians are basically technicians. So what happens is if the person has to do with basically
Prescriptions.
glasses, then you help to fix glasses. In other civilized climes, they go as far as orthoptics, fixing removed eyes with plastics, and then contact lenses. But here, basically, they help in fixing and fitting lens prescriptions.
Fantastic, thanks. So you are the first line of...
Optometrists, yes.
Yes, of course. Now, what's glaucoma?
Okay, glaucoma is the leading cause of irreversible blindness. Okay, it's a disease that affects primarily the optic nerve of the eye. Now, the optic nerve is like a connecting point between your eye and your brain, because really your eye collects the visual information,
Sends the signals.
and then your brain does the interpretation of that signal. So if there is a break in transmission between the collecting point and the interpreter, there is going to be loss of information. So what glaucoma does is it comes in, increases the pressure between the collecting point, and then damages the nerve. And when that nerve is damaged, there is no longer information that can go from the eye
Seamlessly.
to the brain. And so there is blindness. But it's usually gradual. There are two types. There's what we call the open angle glaucoma that has other subtypes. And then there is the closed angle glaucoma. The open angle glaucoma is very, very common. It's insidious in nature. So it comes in gradually and could be very deadly, because most times people don't come into the clinic because they have glaucoma. They come in because they have other issues, and then the doctor finds
And these
out.
other issues are symptoms of glaucoma?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Because before an individual can realize that he or she has glaucoma, usually 70 to 80% of damage is already done. And any damage caused by glaucoma is irreversible. It is irreversible. So that's where the tough one is there about glaucoma.
That's not a good look. What are these causes? What is it? One cause, or you have different causes of
The
glaucoma?
primary cause of glaucoma is due to hereditary causes. And also due to the fact that we are of those of African descent.
Just like the high blood pressure.
Yes. So in fact, traditionally, when we want to try and break glaucoma down to people, not a very good definition. We say it's the hypertension of the eye. Not a very good definition, but so that people
It's
can
not politically
understand.
correct. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
usually there is no cure. Just like high blood pressure doesn't have a cure, but you
You
can manage it. So the best way we manage glaucoma is early intervention. So if people have a habit of regularly having their eyes examined, it's very easy to detect it at an early stage, and then it can be nipped at the bud.
How often would you recommend? Because I think it's a general problem in Nigerians. You won't go to the dentist until there's something serious happening to you. When you go to the doctor, people even self-medicate. It's easier. And I can't remember the last time I visited an optician. How often would you recommend checkup for the eyes, a visit to an optometrist?
Generally, it's changing. It used to be when you get to 40, but because of the different types of glaucoma, now we have what we call congenital glaucoma in children, which we call ophthalmos, and you have juvenile glaucoma, which will come from, like I said, hereditary causes. Trauma can cause it too. Diabetes not properly managed can cause it too. Some drugs too can cause it, because what happens basically in glaucoma is that there's a structure there we call the trabecular meshwork, like a funnel that helps to drain fluid in and out of the eye. Now, when that funnel is blocked or that sieve is blocked, the pressure builds up. And when pressure builds up, it damages the optic nerve. So we normally advise that at least once a year, people have their eyes examined. Now, this includes children. Children not excluding. Like I said before, we used to say 40, but we've noticed now that even in children, you have what we call, like I said, congenital glaucoma, juvenile glaucoma, other secondary causes.
So who do you visit when you want to have
You see your optometrist.
Okay.
You see optometrist.
It's not contagious.
No, it's not contagious.
Okay. We
it's
have
not
to,
contagious.
I mean, we have
but
to be
it's
clear
very,
about
very, it has very strong hereditary links. Very, very strong. And any person who is of African descent must screen for glaucoma because of our dense pigmentation, melanin pigmentation.
How is it managed?
Basically, it's managed with drugs and surgeries. Okay, so at the drugs level, that's where we come in. Then if we notice that, you know, this glaucoma is already maybe getting to the advanced stage before the person came in to visit the primary eye care physician, or it's just something that, because there's sometimes where you use drugs to manage and you have some very tough, like pigmentary glaucoma. Like I mentioned, there are different types of sub-glaucomas, like you have low-tension glaucoma, which is still a mystery to eye care providers worldwide. It's very, like I said, it creeps in, and sometimes your gadgets can't even pick them. But there are tests that you must go through, you know, for you to be able to know that you have glaucoma and the like.
So once a person is diagnosed with glaucoma, the bad news is they have to manage it for the rest of their life.
Technically, yes.
Wow, not a good look. And let's look at the government and healthcare services in Nigeria generally. You are a member of the Nigerian Optometrists Association.
Yeah.
Is there enough awareness about glaucoma in the country, and is the government doing enough?
I would say yes and I would say no. The reason is, you know, in the healthcare system, you've got the public sector and you have the private sector, okay? And now for the public sector, I've been involved in the public sector works for a while, and I would say, yes, awareness is out there because we have what we call World Sight Day, which happens annually, and then we have the World Glaucoma Week, which happens in March every year. And we take to the media platforms, the social media platforms, we go on streets, and then we'll do a lot of publicity and try to make people, you know, come to terms. But the truth is, you know, the way human beings are, like you said, we are reactive in nature rather than preventive. So if there is no problem, if we don't sense any problem, people don't want to do anything about it. So until there is pain, like you mentioned the dentist now, until they feel that knock pain that will make them maybe wake up from sleep, they don't go to the hospital. But for glaucoma, unfortunately, like in open angle glaucoma, which is what I'm talking about now, there is no pain. And so the damage is already done before the person gets to the hospital. And there's no doctor that can reverse that procedure. So in creating awareness, what we've tried to do is to partner with media houses like what we're doing now, thanks to Nigeria Info, and also to partner with organizations like the Federal Road Safety Corps last year. We're able to engage them, you know, in going out to reach to drivers, you know, preventing of blindness.
Because information is key.
Very,
it
very,
could
very
be
key.
the midpoint between blindness and
But now,
and
the
sight.
one thing is the information. Another thing is what people do with the information. Because we can release this information and people will just say, wow, is it true? And then people with, you know, in this part, we're very religious, and they will say, it's not my portion.
Yes.
And they leave it as it's not my
forbid.
portion. And by the time they realize that portion is already taken, and there's really nothing he or she
So
can do
prevention
about it.
is better than
Prevention,
cure, like you say.
taking steps, active steps to make sure they do what is needful. That is, make the doctors your friend. You know, generally we say the police is your friend, but I always say the optometrist is your friend. So we need to take the bull by the horn, visit your optometrist, and just quickly, there are tests that must be done if you're screening for glaucoma. You know, generally what people do is you just They put like an ABC and people read. That is not all there is to an eye test. They need to screen for maybe like your visual fields. They need to screen in already diagnosed cases, like what we call an ocular coherence tomogram. They need to do what we call an ophthalmoscopy.
So it's deeper than just sitting outside and
yes, yes. Those things you see people do are basically screening, just vision screening test. But when you want to do a proper test for glaucoma, you need to do a comprehensive examination where they need to check for your pressures, what we call the intraocular pressure. And there are different gadgets for doing that. You have
but it sounds, I mean, you've listed a number of tests, but we have to still come back to the economic situation of the country.
Okay.
And that's where a lot of people will say it's not their portion. I'm sure these tests don't come cheap.
Yes.
Yes. So what kind of services are available? Are they generally available in government hospitals?
No.
This deep test beyond the ABC screening?
That's where we also want to appeal to the government, okay? Now, because now you have it at the tertiary institutions and maybe some of the secondary institutions. We also want them to make it available at the primary healthcare institutions. That's like the PHCs. We have about 20 local PHCs across board. They need to, make sure there are eye care providers in this
at that level, because majority of the population only have access to PHCs. A lot of low income.
Because for instance, I worked in a PHC some years ago, but we had, like I said, the government is trying because it's a new government now. So we've put our appeal on the table. Of course, we're still appealing to them. Let's see what they're going to do in terms of looking into, the current, situation in terms of how they can get to reach out to the grassroots, the common man, because this thing has very dire social economic impact. Because the reason why we could, enjoy ourselves now, enjoy this, and the reason why our audience can, look at us and enjoy us, colors and everything is because of the eyes. When the eyes is taken out of the equation, 80% of your communication is gone.
Okay, talking about the audience, we'll open up the phone lines now. You'll see the numbers scrolling below your screen. If you have any questions related to glaucoma or the eye in general, feel free to call in and talk to Dr. John Samssedi. Yeah. Okay. Are there gender-based risk factors associated with glaucoma?
Generally, like I said, the first risk factor, which is very important, is that you are African descent. So the fact that we're born with melanin pigmentation means you are already at risk for glaucoma.
We're more susceptible to it.
Yes. Like I said, the simple explanation being the melanin pigmentation. And also, you find out that it affects, sometimes studies have shown that it affects males more. And it affects both eyes, though the symptoms...
I was going to
affect both eyes.
That.
So it's a bilateral affectation. But usually the symptoms tend to be severe in one eye as compared to the other. But usually when somebody presents with glaucoma, if you see it in one, then there is a likelihood that even if the manifestation is not obvious in the other one, then tests need to be carried out.
Are there any early stage symptoms that a layman can detect, or you have to go to the hospital?
90% no.
Wow.
That is why we should have a culture, a habit of having regular medical examination, not just the eye now, regular medical examination, of which the eye is forms a very significant part of it. So it's not something you want to, wave aside. It should be, when you do your annual plan, your annual goals, it should be one of those things that you, I mean, that's one of the things that separates us from the developed climes, because this thing is already factored in, into their...
Because your body is an engine. You need to service it and keep every part of it at optimum level.
And where people have to be very careful, you have a lot of all these naturopaths that come in and say, there is this thing you can take. Yes. Now, we don't have any problem.
Let's take this call. We have Sunday from Lagos. Hello, Sunday. Hi, good afternoon, Sunday.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead and talk to us. Do you have a question for Dr. Samssedi?
I want to know if long-time glaucoma can be cured.
Long-term glaucoma. You mean that's advanced glaucoma can be cured?
Yes.
So that means the person has had the glaucoma. Has it damaged any eye?
Glaucoma for about 5, 6, 7 years.
Okay.
Maybe it can be cured.
Okay, has it damaged any eye yet?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the truth, Mr. Sunday, is this. Like I mentioned in my definition,
Yes.
glaucoma is the leading cause of irreversible blindness. So any damage done by glaucoma cannot be reversed, medically speaking. Now, what the doctor can do when you see your eye care provider is to assess the level of damage. When the assessment is done, our job is to now make sure whatever vision is remaining, we, through drugs and surgical intervention, that's where the ophthalmologists come in now, make sure that remaining vision is preserved. And that is where we need the cooperation of the patient, because I can give you drugs, but it's left for you to apply them.
Very true.
Because of the long-term application and long-term effect of glaucoma, many people get tired of taking this drug and they just give up. And once the person gives up, the damage continues.
And it's irreversible.
It's irreversible.
Whoa. I think we have a call from Rose in Abuja. Okay, we lost that one.
It's very, very important, like what Sunday said, because many people are deceived. They go here because now when vision is lost, especially, it's different from cataracts.
I was going to, what's the difference between cataracts
now,
is there a link between cataracts and glaucoma?
Yes. Cataract is opacification of the lens. Sorry for terminology.
Technical terms.
It's really difficult to break this down, but imagine there is an obstruction to your vision. That's cataract. It's simple because we refer to the ophthalmologist when in advanced cases, they take the cataract off and replace with what we call an intraocular lens, or we use, lenticular prescription and the person sees again. That's for cataracts. But in glaucoma, surgeries do not guarantee reinstatement of vision. The surgery you go through for glaucoma is just to prevent further loss.
Manage it at that level.
Exactly. So if the person comes into the clinic and 70% of vision is already lost, you only have 30% left. My job as a doctor is to make sure that your remaining 30%, give or take, we have 25% remaining. That will not be lost. But there is no guarantee that the 70% will come back. No medical advancement have been able to achieve that for now, worldwide.
Is it that there's no, the researchers in different universities from across the world looking into this, so is it because it's a black man problem
it's because
that we haven't found advancement?
It's not a black man problem. Like I said, we are more at risk, so it affects others too.
Yes.
Okay, but the truth is, because it's just like when you had your Ebola and your HIV and things like that. It's a kind of evasive kind of disease. In fact, technically we call it a group of disease that affects the optic nerve head. So it's multifaceted. So now recent research is beginning to find out that it has its link to not just the eye but to the brain. So the problem originates from the brain, but like I said, it's things that needs to be approved, because when these researchers come up, they need to go through different channels for them to be, signed up and say, yes, this is an authority. But the truth is, from my years of practice, I can tell you that disease is not a disease that we must toy with. And that is why, when people come in, as a basic rule in most clinics, what they do is to make sure, after the basic screening test, they make sure they check their pressures, look at the back of the eye with an instrument called the ophthalmoscope. What they're doing there is to assess what we call the optic
comprehensive.
Beautiful, sir. Beautiful, sir. Because for instance, when I was at PHC, the best the PHC could do, because of the lack of instrumentation, was for us to do what we call the optic nerve head assessment. So when I notice that someone's optic nerve head is looking funny, and I do maybe what we call a field test with my hand, I can easily now refer the person to a tertiary institution or to a private institution that can handle that particular thing. You talked about, the monetary aspect. The truth is, how cheap are our vision? Most people don't prioritize their health. And that is why when it comes to that, you still see the same people who complain about no money to manage these things. Spend a lot of money in some other things like ashobis and, party and things like that. But when it comes to things like healthcare, we put very low budget. All we need to do is to look at the national budget and see what has been earmarked for maybe education and healthcare. That will tell you the general overview of how we see healthcare.
Finally, before we wrap things up on the show, what tips do you have for Nigerians? What kind of questions should they ask when visiting an optometrist, an ophthalmologist, and generally eye doctors?
Okay, now they've made it pretty easy. When you go into an eye clinic, you should look out for a display, either from HEFAMA, which is the Health Facilities and Accreditation Monitoring Board of Lagos State. That's for those in Lagos now. And then you can look out for what we call the ODORBN certification. It's the Optometrists and Dispensing Opticians Registration Board of Nigeria. That means for me to be allowed to practice in Nigeria, I must have been accredited and certified by this board. They have their branches, in the 6 geopolitical zones. So they go from clinic to clinic. What they do is they ask me for my graduation certificate, my continuing education. In fact, we just came from one in Benin where you go and you update your knowledge about the current realities, because it's not for me to say I graduated in 1986 and I'm still practicing, because things keep evolving, things keep changing, there are new discoveries every day. So we are made to go for this continuing education program so that we can be accredited and re-accredited. So you can look out for those signs and then you can ask questions. Ask questions and intelligent questions. Please, may I know you? Okay, what's your specialty? Are you an optician, optometrist, an ophthalmologist? Usually, like I said, the first point of call in most clients, even when you go to an ophthalmologic setting, is that you meet an optometrist first. It's when it is beyond what the optometrist can handle. It's like going to see your medical doctor and you discover something. It's okay, you need to see your ENT. You need to see your orthopedic surgeon. That's the way it is.
Thank you very much, Dr. John Samssedi.
Thank you very much.
I'm sure there's always room to have you back. It's very important, your eyes and your health in general. We do appreciate your insight on the subject. We've been speaking with Dr. John Samssedi. He's the Vice Chairman, Nigerian Optometrist Association at Lagos State Chapter. It's quite a mouthful, optometrists. Yeah, tongue twister.
That's because the eye too is very, very precious,
That's all we have for you on today's show, but not before we look at today in history. What's happened today in history? 2010 FIFA World Cup Finals was held in Johannesburg, South Africa, first time on African soil. And in 1955, in God We Trust, President Eisenhower signed a bill requiring the use of the inscription "In God We Trust" on all paper money. Who knew that? And also on this day in 1977, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was awarded the Medal of Freedom. Okay, that's all we have for you on Hello Nigeria for today. Join us tomorrow for Woman Wednesday. Remember to follow us collectively at HNS Wazobia Max. Do have a great day and see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.